Back at it again, Crimson Tide fans. The pregame show touchdown. Alabama Magazine, the rematch is on. The sequel, part 2, the Tango. Alabama, Georgia, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. This time for all the marbles, for all the poker chips, for all the tea in China. College football playoff national championship game next Monday night from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. We're right now giving you all the last up-to-the-minute updates on your Crimson Tide for the matchup. I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith.
And I'm Patrick Dowd.
And Pat, here we go. Part 2, the Tango, all the tea in China. Can you beat the same team twice? It's Alabama and Georgia for all supremacy. Did we not think this was going to happen again?
I mean, look, they've been the two best teams all season long. I don't think anyone's really disputed that. And look, as much as people want to be upset about, SEC fatigue or anything like that, I mean, just look at what they did in their semifinal games, winning both by over 20 points.
I'm telling you, people are going 16 playoff, 18 playoff, 12-team playoff, 100-team playoff. But you got the best two teams in college football going at it here at Lucas Oil Stadium on next week. So we got some updates, Pat, to get into, primarily on the offensive line. The right side of the line, of course, for Alabama and the Cotton Bowl against Cincinnati. Both Emil Ekiyor and Chris Owens both nicked up in the game. Coach Saban did speak on. He's very hopeful that Jeff Allen and the team's training staff, strength staff, team doctors will have both guys prepared to go, prepared to play on the field. Now, of course, we did see J.C. Latham, true freshman, take over for Ekiyor at right guard. We also saw Amari Kite take over for Chris Owens at right tackle. So Bama does have the backups, but Saban very hopeful here that the Tide will have Ekiyor and Chris Owens on the field.
Yeah, I think he's pretty hopeful, and they have a great training staff working with the team. And look, Alabama's really going to need these two guys healthy, or if they're not able to go, they need probably the best performances of the year out of Amari Kite and J.C. Latham, two guys who really haven't played much at all this season. I know J.C. Latham played the majority of the game against Cincinnati. He did pretty well. Amari Kite, I think, only played 2 or 3 plays. But, I mean, I think Ekiyor is the one that Alabama fans are a little bit more concerned about because of the shoulder issue. I think there was a separation, but it was put back in. So we're just kind of wait and see right now.
Absolutely. So hopefully both of those two guys will be able to get on the field here against Georgia for Alabama. In terms of the secondary, we did see Jalen Armour-Davis against Cincinnati at that cornerback position. Still looked a bit uncomfortable out there at times. I think he is now fully healthy, but we did see Kyrie Jackson get more reps out there. He played well, the JUCO from East Mississippi Community College. So when you look at the secondary between Jalen Armour-Davis, Kyrie Jackson, you want to see Armour-Davis out there. He's the veteran. He's the senior. He's played more. He's been the most consistent corner of the group here when you look at Alabama. But Kyrie Jackson did give you some good reps there against the Bearcats.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, he stepped right in for Jalen Armour-Davis, just no real drop-off since he went out. I mean, I think Alabama is going to wish they have Jalen Armour-Davis just because of the game experience he's had all season. But I think they'll be fine with Kyrie Jackson regardless. But it's going to take it's going to take their best performance of the year in this national championship game.
Absolutely. Alabama will get to Indianapolis on today. Both teams are set to arrive a little bit later on, between 6 and 7 o'clock at Lucas Oil Stadium at Indianapolis to get in, get settled in, go through some practices, some things inside Lucas Oil Stadium to get a feel for the atmosphere prior to the matchup. But now we look at here, first and foremost, you've got the second time around. People always say it is so hard to beat a team twice. And I go back to 1999 where Alabama did beat Florida twice that year. Florida head coached by Steve Spurrier, Sean Alexander, Andrew Zhao, those guys, they beat Florida in Gainesville. Then they beat Florida one more time in the SEC championship. But this is a Georgia team that on the field, statistically, you're looking at a generational type of defense. When you discuss guys like Jordan Davis, like Quay Walker, like Nakobe Dean, like Nolan Smith, guys of that nature. And even though Stetson Bennett may not be the most elite quarterback in the world, he does find ways to make winning plays out there on the field. But Alabama was able to handle it by 17 in the SEC title game, a 2.5 to 3 point underdog here. Pat, does it happen again? Does Alabama find a way to get Georgia again? Because we've heard from Kirby Smart, we've heard from Todd Monken, we've heard from Dan Lanning. They're talking about Bama's going to get our best shot in this matchup. Can the Tide pull this out again?
Well, I mean, it's gonna be really difficult, I think, because this is a little bit different look of an Alabama team. It's a team that's even more banged up than they were previously. I know they were missing Darian Dalcourt for the last time they played Georgia, but Seth McLaughlin has stepped right in and done well. But I mean, the right side of the offensive line is banged up, and especially, which is a big key, there's no John Mechie this game, who's been really a big safety blanket on third down. You saw Alabama really didn't have much success in the passing game, or their typical amount of success in the passing game against Cincinnati, because Jamison Williams saw a lot of double teams. They really did a good job of him anyways. But, I mean, and look, this is a Georgia team that looked like Georgia. When Georgia played Alabama in the SEC championship game, that was almost an anomaly for them, because they had just ripped through everybody in the regular season. And look, they just did it again against Michigan. I know it was 34-11, but it really was dominance in the run game and stopping the run, running the ball, and throwing the ball, because Stetson Bennett, took care of the football. I think he threw for 3 touchdowns, and the defense held Michigan to like 3 yards per carry. So, I mean, if Georgia's playing like they are, like they have been all season, and I mean, it's just, it's going to be tough. But Alabama's still Alabama. This is still Nick Saban. We've seen him do this before. So
the big thing here, Pat, to me with Georgia is, do they believe they can win this game? That's the big thing, because I always go back to 2009 with Coach Saban, 2008 when they took on Florida and Tim Tebow for the SEC championship. That team had the talent, but Saban will tell you the belief wasn't all the way there that it could take down Florida. It could take down Tebow and Urban Meyer. The next year in 2009, not only was the talent there, but the belief was there. That team felt like we can take down Florida, and they went out there and did that. It's the same thing with Georgia. Georgia's got the talent. Oh, yeah. All the 5 stars are there. All the premier players are there. All the NFL draft prospects, they're right there. The coaching staff is right there. It's the belief from Kirby on down. Do they believe within themselves that they can get over this hurdle and take down Coach Saban in Alabama, who's kind of had this mental control here to an extent on Kirby Smart in the last 4 tries here?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest part for Georgia to have success against Alabama is they can't give them anything easy. I mean, they spotted them a pick 6 and another they spotted them 2 interceptions, 2 extra possessions that game to either take off clock or go and score. So, I mean, I think it all comes down to the quarterback play, if I'm being completely honest. And honestly, in these sorts of games, you just lean toward whoever is the best one. That's gonna be Alabama with Bryce Young. But I think if Stetson Bennett can find a way to have a clean game, I think in general, this game is gonna be a lot tighter than it was the first time around.
It's going to be very interesting to see how both teams play this, because you got 2 different cards on the table, 2 different poker chips when you discuss Georgia's poker chip. Pat, as you mentioned, the SEC championship game, that was not the real us. That was not the real dog. That was not the real Georgia. Now you're going to get the real Georgia. Alabama's poker chip. We beat this team by 17 points, and you got us as an underdog again. Okay, we're used to this. We're going to have to show you again. So you got 2 different cards here being put on the table.
Well, the thing is, that might not have been the real Georgia, but Georgia might be getting the real Brian Robinson in this next game, because keep in mind, he had a pulled hamstring going into that game.
Very good point.
I mean, there's not a hotter player in the country now than Brian Robinson, running for I believe it was over 200 yards against Cincinnati, if I'm correct. So, I mean, if Alabama can run the football, and they were able to do it by committee, Bryce Young really helped with his. He ran for 40 yards and a touchdown the first time around. He's gonna need to make plays with his legs, but if Brian Robinson's fully healthy, and this offensive line keeping plays close to how it did against Georgia the first time, I mean, Alabama's going to have a really good chance.
Flipping this now, Pat, to defense. I mean, Pete Golding has dealt with criticism all season, but since the Texas A&M game, he has really turned it on. The defense has really turned it on. You're seeing big plays being made. DJ Dale got a sack against Cincinnati. We know what Will Anderson is. You're seeing Dallas Turner play incredibly well. You're seeing Christian Harris looking better. Henry To'o looking better. In the secondary, Brian Branch is out of his mind back there. So this team defensively, since the A&M matchup, is playing some of its best ball. But Bama fans looking at Pete Golding, can he do it one more time? Can he give one more big performance against a Georgia team that's out for vengeance here in this matchup? What are you looking for defensively here in terms of attacking Stetson Bennett, probably trying to limit Brock Bowers at tight end? What are you looking forward to seeing from Bama defensively?
Well, I mean, just like what Alabama's front's done really over the past 5 games, their front has been fantastic, especially with all the batted down passes against Cincinnati. They really took away the run game, and they put a lot of pressure on Desmond Ridder, and they did similar to Stetson Bennett the first time around, and also they did some disguises in the secondary too to force him into those interceptions. So I think it's gonna take a similar type of effort. I think they can do it because I think honestly Pete Golding's kind of proved himself since that Texas A&M game as being actually a good defensive coordinator, which is something probably a lot of fans weren't ready to say going into the season.
Now I think the one thing, Pat, I want to see in this game is, and Golding and Alabama did this against Cincinnati, is those not only the quick adjustments, but how fast do they get to the pass rush packages, and where do they have Will Anderson and Dallas Turner lined up? Because if you noticed against the Bearcats, there were quite a number of times where 31 and 15 were on the same side.
Nightmare.
And that was that was unholy. That was a nightmare. When you have 15 and 31 both on the same side, you have Christian Harris playing a lot better. You have To'o playing a lot better. But not just that. Fadarian Mathis up front was batting down passes. DJ Dale was batting down passes, getting sacks. Byron Young was out there contributing, like you mentioned. This defensive front, since the A&M game, is starting to figure out or has found out who it is. And when your defensive front finds out who they are, then that allows your secondary to play with a bit more confidence, which we've seen from the Brian Branches, the DeMarco Helms, the Jordan Battles, even Daniel Wright playing with more confidence out there. So I just want to see, how often does Pete Golding dial it up with having Will Anderson and Dallas Turner both on the same side?
Yeah, the best way to cover up for a banged-up secondary, get after the quarterback.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think Alabama's going to do exactly that this game.
Going to be a fun matchup here, Pat, between Alabama and Georgia. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy. The two of us for TDA, we're taking the road here on Sunday, checking out this matchup. But now as we get into this line of 2.5 points in favor of Georgia, I believe the money line is now between 160 and minus 165 in favor of the Bulldogs here. How do you see this final score shaping out here, Pat, in terms of this national championship?
Look, like I said before, Alabama is banged up on both sides of the football. Georgia probably feels disrespected from the first time. And look, I picked Georgia to win the SEC championship. I'm not making the mistake again. I have to go with Alabama. I think it was one of the only wrong picks I had this year. I'm going with Alabama in the national championship. They're winning by 7. That's all I'm going to say.
You got it by 7?
I got them by 7.
You got it by 7. I'm going to say it's close. I'm going to say it's close. Bama pulls away. Bama 10. I got 38-28 here. Bama pulls away late 10, 38-28 in favor of the Crimson Tide. Hopefully that prediction holds true here because I've made some good ones. I've been close. I've hit the line. I've been close to the line. 1 or 2 times I've been slightly off, but we'll see what happens. But people, we got Alabama, Georgia next Monday night here, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis for the College Football Playoff National Championship game. ESPN will have the call there on the matchup. You guys enjoyed that right there. For all of us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith.
And I'm Patrick Dowd.
And you guys enjoy the college football title matchup.